In yesterday's class, many details and questions. The basic quest in this chapter is to understand the beginning and the core of tshuva, of penitence. And as we explained yesterday, tshuva is made up of the word tashuv, which means to return. Tashuv, and what are you returning? Hey, the hey in God's name. What does that mean? Well, God has two letters of hey in his name, so there's a lower level and a higher level of tshuva. The details on that to come. But before we can understand the concept of tshuva, what it means to return the hey in God's name, which, by the way, is suggesting that it's not about me, just about me and my return to God. I'm returning his letter to his name. Of course, what does that mean exactly? And how do I do that? How can I do that? Well, we can only know how to affect God, as it were, if we can understand who we are first. If we don't understand who we are, then we can't imagine or understand or appreciate the effect that we have on the divine name, Shem Havaya, the Tetragrammaton, the name of God. So, let us understand who we are. The verse in Deuteronomy, in Devarim, says, Ki chelek havaya amoy, for God's people are a part of God. And the name of God is Shem Havaya. In tomorrow's class, we'll understand how that name is actually the makeup of our divine soul. Today, we're going to get the parameters for that and the distinction between that and God's force within creation as a whole. The distinction, hence, will be between two names of God, Shem Havaya, the Tetragrammaton, and Shem Elohim, also a name of God that is the power within creation. But first, what is it, a Jewish soul? What does it mean? What does it mean that the name of God is a part of us? Well, we have a metaphor for this that we've had before in the first part of Tanya. And that is, as it explains about the creation of the soul, that God blew the soul into the nostrils of Adam, becomes a living being. The metaphor is to blow, breath. But we have breath also in speech, as I'm speaking right now. Two types of breath. But this breath, as the Zohar explains, comes from an inner dimension of the individual. The metaphor being, that when you blow, like, you're blowing balloons for your child's birthday, it takes a lot of energy because it's coming from a deeper place. That is the metaphor. And of course, we need to understand God is not physical, so it's not a physical breathing, but we have to use metaphor in order that we can understand in human terms. So we give a human concept of a forceful breath, a forceful blowing of one's breath. What does that mean? What is the metaphor? It means coming from a deeper place. What does a deeper place mean? It means it's coming from, the soul is coming from a part of God. And that's what the verse is saying in Deuteronomy, that a part of God within the Jewish soul. And meaning it's the internal life force of God as opposed to an external life force of God. Everything comes from God. The question, from what dimension? So all of creation is coming through Shem Elohim. Shem Elohim is Tzimtzum's contraction. Specifically here it means the external force of God. It's also the breath of God to an utterance, right? Let there be light, right? Animal, and so on. So that utterance has a breath to it, which is an external expression of the divine. And therefore, what this makes then is a creation of God. As opposed to, the divine soul is not a creation of God, it's a part of God. Coming from Shem Havaya, Tetragrammaton, as opposed to Shem Elohim. Now, truth be said, the soul, although it is an internal part of God, and that's the source where it comes from, but as it enters into the body, it enters into the body through divine utterance. And what is that utterance? Let us make man. Right, that's an utterance. It has also a breath, the divine breath. But that divine breath and the divine utterance is external, meaning that now the soul, when it's vested into the body, even though it is a part of God, it is now a creation, a divine creation, not a divine part of creation, as opposed to coming from the divine, and is a creative, separate entity. So there's still a unity and a oneness as a result. Hence, even angels, right, that are supernal, angels that are very fully aware of the divine, yet their creation comes from the external of God, which is Shem Elohim. Hence, often in the Torah, we will see angels referred to Elohim. For the Lord your God, he is the God of gods, as it says in, also in Deuteronomy. What does that mean? That last Elohim, right, the God of gods, meaning the Elokei El HaElohim, means referring to angels. Likewise, the phrase says, Hoidul Elokei HaElohim, praise the Elohim of Elohim, the God of gods. Again, a reference to angels. Angels being a derivative or a creation of Shem Elohim. Why would they be called with that name of God? Well, being that they are so aware of it, they're so attuned to it, they're so connected to it, so the name is Elohim. It's not a divine name, it's a creation, but it's showing on the creative power of God within creation, that even when it comes to celestial, spiritual angels, who are much more aware than we are of divinity, yet the force, the vitality force within them is external from Shem Elohim, as opposed to the soul, the divine soul, derives from the internal aspects of God's vivifying power, which is again the Tetragrammaton, Shem Havaya. It becomes the force of the soul. That's today's class. It's a brief class. What does that mean? How does that play itself out in tomorrow's class? What does it mean that we have the Shem Havaya that is the vital force? And of course, it is vivifying at all times the divine soul. What kind of quality does the divine soul have as a result of that? Well, of course, it's going to be based on what it's made up of, the Tetragrammaton, Shem Havaya, Yud Ke Vav Ke. which we'll have to stay tuned for tomorrow's class, as opposed to everything else, is from the external aspect of the divine creative power of Shem, the name Elohim. Powerful idea over here. I hope that was clear. Let us... Pamela from Virginia, good morning. And Dion from South Africa, thank you for joining us. Monica from Paris. Angela from Louisiana. Karen from Florida. Louise, shalom. Zayla from Florida also. Julie from also Florida. And Aria from Miami, also Florida. Whoa. Tarek from Mitzrayim, from Egypt. Thank you for joining. Lisa from also Florida. Okay. And Art from Michigan. Isa. Isa's asking, souls of children choosing their parents. Souls are divine. They're made specifically to come to who they need to come to. It's a divine thing. It's a divine thing that is in God's hands. God's hands. Rick asks the question, is it heretical to meditate on the name of God, or is it acceptable? Absolutely, it's acceptable. To meditate upon it, as we will learn tomorrow, what that name means, how that affects me within my soul. Absolutely, we should meditate upon it. Yes. Annie, okay. I'm glad that you're able to attend today. Thank you, Rona. Cindy, also from Florida. Whose name? God's name. Andrea, thank you. Margot, Boker Tov. Thank you, Denise. God bless you. Karen Boker Tov from LA. Eric asks an excellent question. How could we relate today's teachings to the soul of converts? Thank you for that question. Isa from Maryland, Erica from Norway, and Patty, hello. So, what does it mean for converts? Well, who's giving that soul? God is giving that soul. How do we know who has that soul? Well, if your mother is Jewish, so through her, she is a carrier of that soul. Is there anybody else? Yes, converts. Well, how can converts get the soul? Again, it's a soul given by God. It's not the mother that gives it. It's through the mother. So another way that you get it is when you convert according to Jewish law. And that's a very important thing. Jewish law means a proper rabbinic authorities that follow Jewish laws scrupulously themselves, and that whoever's converting is also going to follow Jewish law, right? If someone is not following, does it in order just to, whether it's for marriage or for other purposes, and it is not, when they go to the mikveh, for example, to convert, accepting Jewish law and commitment to Judaism, then it's very questionable, the conversion. But assuming that it's done properly according to Jewish law, then that convert is endowed with a Jewish soul. How does it work? how do you get endowed with a Jewish soul? Again, well, if it comes from God, then it's not a problem. What is the process, though? The process is very telling from the terminology that's used in the Talmud. The Talmud does not speak about a non-Jew that converts. It doesn't use that term. It doesn't say non-Jew that converts to Judaism. It uses a term in Hebrew, ger shenizgayer, a convert that converts. What do you mean a convert that converts? In other words, the person who does ultimately convert, and it's a proper conversion, it is someone who already had a spark of a Jewish soul. A spark, but not a flame. Like a flint stone has a spark of fire in it, but it's very hidden, very concealed, and you need to, excuse me, to rub it very strongly in order to bring out the fire from within. So likewise, the Jewish soul that is in this convert is a spark that needs to be rubbed. In other words, there has to go through a difficult transition of coming to Judaism in a demanding manner, in accepting what needs to be accepted in an appropriate way. And then by going to the mikvah, ritualaria, bath ritualarium, and everything else that's involved, they're endowed with that spark now becoming a flame, a complete, full-blown Jewish soul. So that's the process on how it works. Tarek asks, does the converted one clothes a Jewish soul? I'm not certain what that means, clothes. They have a Jewish soul. They get it, just like anybody else that gets it from by way of a mother. Again, it's not the mother that's giving the soul. It's God Almighty that's giving the soul, being that it's a part of Him. It's by way of the mother. It's identified through the mother, but it's not her actually giving it. So therefore, the convert who doesn't have a Jewish mother is getting it the same manner as by way of God. But it's coming through God by way of the conversion process. That's how it works. Excellent. Thank you for Eric for asking that, and I hope that sheds light. With this, you can also understand that when the convert first comes to seeking to convert, the first thing we do is kind of dissuade them for two reasons. One is we're not looking for converts. We're very satisfied with a non-Jew following the Noahide laws, the 7 Noahide laws, and being a good non-Jew, and you get your share in Olam Haba, in the world to come, and so on. And you are, looked up in the eyes of God, and so on. Furthermore, if you do want to become Jewish, the sincerity and the commitment has to be great. So one of the ways of seeing if the sincerity and commitment is great is by pushing away a person and seeing if they come back. If they really want it, they're going to come back. If they're just half-hearted about it, so, they've been dissuaded, so they don't come back. That's what Jewish law teaches. That's like rubbing that flint stone in order to get the fire out. You got to kind of, there's maybe a little agitation going on there. All right, I hope that was clear. Wonderful. All right, folks. Sharing is caring. Please share the Alter teachings with others. I'm Rabbi Ronnie Fine, coming to you from Montreal, Canada, where it's a privilege and a pleasure to share with you the Tanya. Have a wonderful day.